In a world that never stops moving, where chaos, stress, and uncertainty fill every corner, the rarest strength is the ability to stay calm and positive. This book is your quiet companion in the noise, a guide to mastering emotional balance, finding peace in pressure, and transforming challenges into growth. It's not about pretending everything is perfect, but about learning how to remain centered when everything isn't. How to stay calm and positive in life will teach you how to control your inner world so that the outer world no longer controls you. Because true power begins with a peaceful mind. Chapter 1. The calm mind. Calmness begins as a physiological state and becomes a habit of attention. The body and the mind are inseparable. A racing heart accelerates thought, shallow breathing narrows perspective, and tension in the shoulders tightens judgment. To stay calm and positive, you must first understand the machinery you inhabit. The autonomic nervous system alternates between sympathetic arousal, fight, flight, freeze, and parasympathetic recovery, rest, digest, repair. Most people live with a chronically biased sympathetic setting because modern life repeatedly signals threat, inbox bings, deadline pressure, social comparison. The first practical move is to reclaim the breath as your anchor. Breathing is the simplest lever to switch nervous system state. Practice a daily protocol, 3 rounds of box breathing, 4 seconds inhale, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds exhale, 4 seconds hold, twice a day. That small habit lowers baseline heart rate and increases vagal tone, making stress responses shorter and less intense. Next, cultivate the skill of noticing without narrative. When anxiety rises, notice the sensations, tight chest, fast thoughts, without immediately telling a story about them. Labeling emotion, I notice anxiety, decouples automatic reactivity from identity. Scientific research shows labeling reduces amygdala activation. Deliberation reduces impulsivity. Combine labeling with a brief acceptance statement. This is happening and I can respond. Acceptance is not resignation. It is the strategic choice to stop fighting the signal long enough to assess options. Another essential practice is a 5-minute morning clarity routine. Before checking any device, sit quietly with a single prompt. What is one priority that will genuinely matter by the end of the week? Write it down in one sentence. This primes goal-directed attention and reduces reactive behavior. Calm people do not avoid urgency, they choose its meaning. Cognitive framing matters. Instead of thinking, I'm overwhelmed, reframe to, I have many inputs, I will sequence them. Language shapes behavior. Finally, build micro-recovery into your day. Short, deliberate breaks, standing and stretching for 90 seconds, a 2-minute breathing reset, or a brief walk outside reset cognitive load. These mini-recoveries are not indulgence. They are investments in sustained clarity and positivity. Calmness is not a destination, but an operable skill set. Breath, notice, accept, reframe, and recover. Practice these elements daily and your baseline shifts from reactivity to composed presence, enabling better decisions, deeper relationships, and a positive orientation that persists beyond momentary moods. Chapter 2. Rewiring stress responses. Stress is not inherently harmful. It becomes harmful when chronic or misinterpreted. The human stress response evolved to solve immediate physical threats, not prolonged email backlogs or social friction. Rewiring how you respond requires behavioral experiments, cognitive shifts, and consistent recovery practices. Begin with exposure exercises to reduce excessive avoidance. If public speaking provokes anxiety, design short, repeated opportunities to speak for 2 minutes to a small, supportive audience. Gradual exposure desensitizes fear and produces mastery. Second, apply cognitive reappraisal systematically. When a stressor appears, run a quick appraisal checklist. What is the actual threat level? What are the realistic outcomes? What resources do I already have? This structured assessment reduces catastrophizing. Pair reappraisal with behavioral activation, small, focused actions that produce immediate feedback. Send the difficult email, outline the presentation, make the call. Action dissolves anxiety in measurable increments. Third, prioritize sleep and movement as foundational interventions. Sleep consolidates emotional memory and restores executive function. Chronic sleep debt amplifies emotional reactivity. Decide on a non-negotiable sleep window and defend it as you would a critical meeting. Movement, especially aerobic exercise, modulates stress hormones and increases resilience. Even brief, intense bursts of activity or a 10-minute walk after a stressful meeting reduce physiological arousal. Fourth, use social calibration. Stress is contagious, but so is composure. Share a clear accountability plan with a trusted peer. If I feel stuck, call me and ask 2 targeted questions. That simple social nudge creates external structure when internal resources waver. Fifth, adopt a recovery ritual after high-stress episodes. Hydrate, breathe for 5 minutes, write 3 objective observations about what happened and 1 actionable change for next time. This ritual converts reactivity into learning. Finally, practice gratitude as corrective reframing. A 2-minute nightly list of 3 small wins changes appraisal style over time, shifting attention from threats to resources. Rewiring stress responses is not about eliminating pressure. It is about converting pressure into precise action, learning, and recovery. Do these interventions consistently and you transform stress from a tyrant into a teacher. Chapter 3. Positive Habits That Stick. Positivity is a product of habitual systems, not sporadic optimism. To be reliably positive, design small, repeatable behaviors that bias your attention toward constructive interpretations and meaningful action. Start with habit architecture. Cue, routine, reward. Choose minimal cues and micro-routines to reduce friction. For example, place a simple gratitude card on your nightstand as a cue. The routine is writing 3 short lines about the day's small wins. The reward is a deliberate breath and a moment of savoring. Habit stacking accelerates adoption. Attach a new positivity habit to an established routine. After brushing your teeth, list 1 learning from the day. Focus on frequency over intensity. 5 minutes daily beats a 90-minute burst once a month. Second, use environment design to favor positive choices. Remove screens from the bedroom, place a water bottle near your workspace, and create a visible list of value-driven priorities. Tiny changes reduce decision fatigue and make positive behavior default. Third, cultivate active gratitude, not passive comparison. Active gratitude includes naming specifics, who did what, why it mattered, because specificity increases emotional impact. Fourth, practice cognitive reframing with an if-then plan. When negative thought X arises, then run a corrective question. What evidence supports this thought? What evidence refutes it? What is a useful action? This structured reframing prevents ruminative loops. Fifth, embed micro-joys, small rituals that reliably increase positive effect, into daily life. A 5-minute music break, mindful tea sipping, a brief gratitude text to a friend. These generate positive feedback loops that elevate mood and social connection. Sixth, practice generosity as a habit. Small acts of giving, sharing a useful article, a sincere compliment, activate social reciprocity and increase meaning. Finally, monitor with simple metrics. How many days per week did you execute your core positivity practices? Track this discreetly and aim for consistency rather than perfection. Positivity that sticks is ecological. It emerges when your environment, routines, and social systems align to make constructive choices easy and automatic. Chapter 4. Communication and Boundaries. Calmness and positivity are tested most in interactions. Communication competence, how you express needs, set limits, and manage conflict directly determines whether relationships amplify stress or support resilience. Begin with clarity. Before a conversation, clarify your objective in one sentence. Are you seeking information, change, or connection? When you know the goal, your language becomes targeted and less reactive. Practice soft assertiveness. Use direct statements anchored in facts and personal impact rather than accusations. When X happened, I felt Y. I'd like Z instead of blame. This structure preserves dignity while moving toward resolution. Next, cultivate timing and tempo. Slow your speech and include brief pauses. Slower tempo signals control and gives your interlocutor cognitive space to respond. Manage volume and pitch. Calm, steady tones reduce escalation. Learn to label emotions in others and yourself. I hear frustration, you seem concerned. Labeling de-escalates effect by shifting the interaction to observation. Boundary setting is essential for long-term calm. Define what you will and will not accept in work and relationships and communicate these boundaries early and kindly. Use scripts to remove ambiguity. I can't take messages after 8 p.m. Please call during business hours for urgent matters. Consistent enforcement makes boundaries credible. Digital boundaries also matter. Set explicit availability windows, disable alerts outside deep work blocks, and use short, templated responses for common requests. In conflict, apply a 3-step regulation. Pause, breathe, restate your intent, then propose a concrete next step. If tension persists, request a break and schedule a reconvening time. This prevents saying things you will regret and preserves relationship capital. Chapter 5. Sustaining positivity. Long-term, sustaining calm and positivity is a systems challenge that requires meaning, recovery, community, and adaptive habits. Start by anchoring your actions to purpose. When daily practices align with a larger why, parenting well, creative expression, community contribution, motivation persists even during setbacks. Articulate a clear purpose statement and review it weekly to reorient choices. Second, treat recovery as non-negotiable. High performance and steady positivity depend on cycles of work and restoration, deep focus, deliberate rest, joyful activity, and social nourishment. Schedule deliberate recovery blocks, the weekend, digital Sabbath, midday walks, and monthly mini-retreats. Third, cultivate resilient routines that include variability, daily rituals for stability but periodic novelty to prevent habituation. Learn a new skill quarterly, travel annually, or rotate reading genres. Fourth, invest in social capital intentionally. Deep relationships are buffers against stress and amplifiers of joy. Give time to a small circle of people who hold you accountable, celebrate wins, and provide honest feedback. Fifth, maintain learning momentum. Chapter 6. Cultivating emotional resilience. Emotional resilience is not a fixed trait gifted to a few. It is a set of practices that anyone can develop with intention and repetition. At its core, resilience means you feel pain without being permanently derailed by it. You experience setback, register the lesson, and return to constructive action faster and stronger than before. The first foundation of resilience is psychological granularity. Name the feeling precisely: disappointment, frustration, embarrassment, rather than the vague label bad. Naming narrows the threat and reduces the brain's alarm response. Next, build a short resilience routine that converts shock into strategy. When a setback occurs, follow a 3-step micro protocol. Calm, 3 deep, diaphragmatic breaths. Calibrate, 1 concise sentence describing the reality of the situation, and choose 1 small action you can take in the next hour. This micro-protocol reorients the nervous system from flooding to problem-solving. Another critical pillar is narrative control. Reframe stories that make events personal, permanent, and pervasive. Instead of "I failed and I'm incompetent," reframe to "I failed on X." This is specific and reversible. What will I change next? Reframing does not deny pain. It locates it within an actionable map. Social scaffolding accelerates resilience. Create a list of 3 people to contact when you need perspective and name the exact help you want: advice, a listening ear, or a reality check. Asking for targeted support prevents vague venting and yields usable feedback. Also practice deliberate exposure. Intentionally rehearse manageable adversity, cold showers, hard conversations, public speaking micro steps, so your tolerance curve rises and surprises shrink. Physical routines matter too. Consistent sleep, movement, and nutrition shrink volatility in mood and sharpen recovery. Finally, archive wins. Keep a visible log of small recoveries and lessons learned. When future storms hit, revisiting concrete evidence of past recoveries calms fear and fuels confidence. Resilience is therefore a practice architecture, habits, scripts, social plans, and bodily care that makes peace and positivity structurally likely rather than emotionally optional. Chapter 7. The Rituals of Daily Presence. Presence is the ground upon which calm and positivity grow. Without presence, you are always in anticipation or rumination, never in the resource-rich present moment. To cultivate presence, structure your day around micro-rituals that anchor attention to now. Begin with a morning centering of 5 to 10 minutes. Sit quietly, notice breath, identify 3 priorities for the day, written as outcomes, not tasks. For example, publish chapter draft rather than work on writing. Outcomes orient your attention while reducing task overload. Periodically during the day, use a simple check-in bell, your phone's silent vibration, or a calendar chime to pause for 20 seconds and ask, "Where is my attention? Is it serving my priorities?" This tiny habit interrupts autopilot and returns you to presence. Another powerful ritual is the single tasking block. Schedule 45 to 60-minute windows where you commit to one cognitive activity and remove all distractors. Phone in another room, notifications off, clear workspace. Single tasking retrains attention networks and produces flow states that feel energizing rather than draining. Evening rituals are equally important. Create a wind-down that does not involve screens for at least 30 minutes. Reading, light stretching, a brief gratitude list, so the nervous system shifts to repair. Presence is also social. Practice full attention listening in one conversation per day. No multitasking, no planning your response, just receptive curiosity. This practice deepens relationships and creates daily moments of meaningful connection that sustain long-term positivity. Presence rituals are not long, they are consistent. The point is to create many micro-habit anchors so attention learns to return to the present repeatedly. Over weeks, this training reduces anxiety about the future and regret about the past, producing a calmer, more positive orientation as a default state. Chapter 8. Managing Energy. Not just time. People often believe productivity and well-being are solved by scheduling time. The deeper lever is energy management. Time is finite, but energy fluctuates. Staying calm and positive depends on honoring your energy cycles and allocating tasks accordingly. Start by mapping your daily energy curve. Note when you feel cognitively sharp, socially engaged, creatively open, and physically depleted. Use a simple log for a week and then schedule your highest demand cognitive work, strategy, writing, decision-making during peak cognitive windows. Reserve lower energy windows for administrative tasks, gentle exercise, or recovery. This alignment produces less friction and fewer emotional lapses. Second, design micro-recharging rituals that match intensity. A 5-minute breathing reset restores parasympathetic tone. A 10-minute brisk walk increases blood flow and clarity. A 20-minute nap can restore performance if timed correctly. Learn which recharge works best for you and standardize it as non-negotiable between work blocks. Third, manage cognitive load by chunking decisions. Reduce trivial decisions by automating small choices, meals, outfits, email batching, so your willpower reservoir is available for meaningful challenges. The fewer low-value choices you make, the less depleted your emotional bandwidth becomes, preserving calm. Fourth, pay attention to social energy. Some interactions recharge you while others drain you. Protect morning energy by scheduling uplifting conversations early and draining but necessary calls later with buffer time to recover. Fifth, practice nutritional patterns that stabilize energy, steady protein, fiber, and healthy fats to avoid blood sugar swings that trigger irritability. Finally, long-term energy stewardship requires periodic resets, week-long digital detoxes, nature retreats, and planned sabbaticals prevent chronic depletion. Managing energy deliberately is a proactive strategy for sustained calm and positivity. It prevents reactive emotional crashes and allows you to show up as your best self when it matters. Chapter 9. Thought Hygiene. Clearing cognitive clutter. Just as hygiene protects the body, thought hygiene protects mental clarity and mood. Cognitive clutter, unfinished tasks, unresolved decisions, intrusive worries, erodes calm and fuels negativity. The first practical step is externalization. Move worries and incomplete tasks out of your head into a trusted system. A notebook, app, or voice memo reduces mental load instantly. Capture everything, large and small, then clarify the next physical action for each item. Seeing actionable next steps converts rumination into manageable work. Second, adopt regular mental resets. Schedule a weekly 30 to 60-minute review and purge where you sort your inbox, calendar, notes, and mental captures. Delete noise, defer non-essential commitments, and prioritize 2 to 3 projects for the week. This ritual prevents creeping overwhelm. Third, practice cognitive boundary setting. Limit exposure to toxic information flows, news cycles that amplify threat, unproductive social feeds, or gossip-heavy groups. Choose information diets that nourish perspective rather than fuel anxiety. Fourth, use short cognitive tools to interrupt spirals. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding exercise, quick reframing questions. Is this thought helpful right now? Or a sensory reset, touch, taste, sight detail that returns you to the present. Fifth, cultivate curiosity as an alternative to rumination when worried. Chapter 10. Building compassionate self-talk. The inner voice is the soundtrack of your emotional life. Harsh internal narratives sap calm and trigger negativity, whereas compassionate self-talk stabilizes mood and encourages growth. Building a compassionate internal dialogue begins with awareness. Notice the critical, quick thoughts and transcribe them into an objective sentence. Then apply the friend test. Would you speak to a close friend that way? If not, rephrase. Replace "I'm such an idiot" with "I made a mistake. What did I learn?" Use 3 compassionate templates. Factual reframe, "This happened, here's the data." Perspective shift, "What would I advise a friend?" And action orientation, "What one next step moves me forward?" Another technique is the compassionate letter. Write a 1-page letter to yourself from a calm, wise mentor voice, acknowledging struggle, and offering direct guidance. Read it aloud when you feel shaken. Chapter 11. Mindful Decision-Making. Decision quality is one of the major determinants of calm and positive living. Poor decisions create cascading stress. Good decisions conserve energy and open avenues. Mindful decision-making is a practice that slows the automatic pilot and invites clarity. Start by recognizing the decision type. Is it reversible or irreversible? Urgent or important? Low value or high value? This classification determines process. Low-value, reversible decisions should be delegated or made quickly. High-value, irreversible ones require deliberate protocol. For high-value choices, use a simple 4-step framework. Clarify the desired outcome, list plausible options, identify the smallest testable action, and set explicit review criteria. The idea is to convert opinion into experiment. Instead of arguing which job offer is best, design a 30-day test project, speak with 2 people in the role, or map a 90-day plan that reveals fit. A second principle is time-boxing deliberation. Ruminating decisions bleed emotional energy. Set a clear deadline for decision and limit information gathering to high-leverage sources. Third, cultivate pre-commitment rituals for recurring stressors, financial transfers scheduled automatically, email batching times, and if-then rules that remove friction. If a meeting runs over time, then delay the next call by 10 minutes. Pre-commitments reduce daily cognitive load and preserve calm. Fourth, apply probabilistic thinking. Estimate plausible outcomes and assign rough probabilities rather than seeking certainty. This reduces the paralysis from imagining every worst case. Use worst-case survivability as a sanity check. If you can survive the worst plausible outcome, fear becomes manageable. Fifth, include affect in analysis, but do not let it dominate. Ask, how would I feel about this decision in 6 months? Affective forecasts often reveal misaligned priorities. Sixth, debrief decisions after outcomes, a short post-mortem. What went as expected? What surprised us? What would we change? Turns decisions into learning opportunities and shrinks future anxiety. Finally, practice small daily decisions that build competence. Choose a healthy lunch, decline one low-value request, or start a short creative task. Each successful micro-decision strengthens self-trust and reduces the emotional drag of larger choices. Mindful decision-making is therefore not about avoiding risk. It's about structuring risk smartly so your life remains calm, purposeful, and resilient. Chapter 12. Gratitude as a structural practice. Gratitude is not mere sentiment. When practiced structurally, it becomes a cognitive algorithm that redirects attention from scarcity to sufficiency. The effectiveness of gratitude depends on frequency, specificity, and embodiment. Frequency: make gratitude a ritual, morning or evening, so it is automatic rather than optional. Specificity: avoid generic lists. I'm grateful for my family. Name details: who did what, how it helped, and why it mattered. Specificity deepens emotional encoding and produces measurable mood shifts. Embodiment: pair the mental note with a physical act. Write it, say it aloud, or send a short message of thanks. Physical embodiment bridges cognition and social reinforcement. A practical template: nightly 3-line gratitude, one small social act you noticed, one personal strength you used, one external event that went well. Over weeks, this generates a database of concrete resources you can revisit during stress. Another powerful lever is gratitude reframing. When facing hardship, ask, what resource or lesson does this challenge reveal? This reframing does not deny pain, it searches for usable insight. Social gratitude multiplies effects. Regularly expressing thanks to colleagues and loved ones builds relational capital and reduces interpersonal friction. Organizationally, implement gratitude rituals. Start meetings with one positive observation or use a shared channel for quick appreciations. Finally, combine gratitude with micro-savoring. Pause to fully experience a positive moment. Taste, smell, sight for 10 seconds. Savoring consolidates positive affect far better than passive awareness. When gratitude is structural rather than sporadic, it shifts baseline appraisal styles from threat toward resource recognition and becomes a keystone habit that supports calmness and sustained positivity. Chapter 13. Forgiveness and productive letting go. Forgiveness is often miscast as moral generosity. In practice, it's a pragmatic strategy for psychological economy. Holding grudges consumes cognitive bandwidth, fuels reactivity, and corrodes positivity. Productive letting go is not necessarily reconciliation. It is the internal reallocation of attention away from grievance toward growth. The process begins with clear distinctions. Differentiate injustice, what occurred, from identity, what you choose to carry. Next, externalize the cost of holding on. Identify the specific behavioral and emotional resources you lose by remaining attached. That clarifies the calculus and motivates change. A practical forgiveness protocol. Acknowledge the hurt objectively. Name the factual events and your emotional response. Set a boundary to prevent recurrence if needed, and choose a defined symbolic release. Writing a letter you do not send, a brief ritual of letting go, or a public statement of intent to move forward. The symbolic act signals commitment to the nervous system. Another element is curiosity toward the offender's humanity. What pressures or limits might have shaped their behavior? Curiosity does not excuse harm but reduces personalization, converting anger into comprehension. If contact is required, use structured communication with clear intent. State impact, request change, and set a timeline for reassessment. If contact is not possible, continue internal work through journaling and targeted cognitive reframes. Finally, monitor relapse triggers and create rapid reset tools. A breathing sequence, a short walk, or a distraction plan. Forgiveness practiced as pragmatic letting go reclaims time and energy, reduces cognitive load, and opens space for positivity to return. It is an act of self-leadership, not weakness. Chapter 14. Deep rest and the physiology of positivity. Calm and positivity are bodily states as much as mental ones. Deep rest is the active cultivation of physiological restoration that supports emotional stability. Beyond sleep hygiene, deep rest includes intentional practices that facilitate parasympathetic activation and neurochemical balance. Start with sleep optimization, fixed bedtime and wake time, screen blackout an hour before sleep, cool dark environment, and a brief bedtime ritual. Reading, light, stretching, or warm foot bath. Sleep consolidation reduces emotional reactivity and enhances memory consolidation for learning. Next, incorporate daily micro-rest protocols, 10 to 20 minutes of low-engagement rest, quiet sitting, slow breathing, or lying down, after intense cognitive blocks to offload cortisol and reset attention. Add longer weekly deep rest sessions, nature immersion, gentle yoga, or extended naps that allow deeper nervous system downshifts. Movement matters. Consistent aerobic exercise increases BDNF and mood resilience. Resistance training improves self-efficacy and hormonal balance. Nutrition supports steady energy. Reduce simple sugars that spike and crash mood. Prefer whole foods that sustain cognition. Hydration is essential. Mild dehydration impairs cognition and increases irritability. Finally, deliberately schedule recovery days, no high-stakes decisions, low social media, and restorative activities only. Guard these days like appointments. Deep rest is not laziness. It is an investment in capacity. When the body is restored, calm becomes easier and positivity more durable. Chapter 15. Cultivating meaningful connections. Humans are social animals. Calmness and positivity flourish within secure, meaningful relationships. The practice of cultivating such connections is intentional. It requires investment, boundaries, and reciprocity. Start by auditing your social portfolio. Who energizes you, who drains you, and who is neutral? Move toward fewer, deeper ties rather than many shallow contacts. Deep ties are built through vulnerability, consistency, and shared purpose. Practice regular scheduled check-ins with key people, short, focused conversations that ask about meaning and struggle, not only logistics. Use disclosure windows where you share one challenge and one gratitude item. This ritual deepens trust over time. Learn the skill of useful listening. Ask open questions, reflect content and feeling, and resist the urge to immediately fix. People confuse advice with absence of empathy. Often what calms and heals is being fully heard. Another high-leverage habit is reciprocity planning. Decide weekly how you will give to others: time, resources, presence, so generosity becomes routine. Maintaining boundaries is equally important. Protect your core time and enforce limits gently but consistently to prevent burnout. Finally, cultivate community beyond dyads. Join a small group aligned with values, volunteer team, study circle, or sports club that offers collective identity and steady social nourishment. Meaningful connection is not accidental. It is engineered through rituals, presence, and mutual investment. These ties sustain calm during storms and amplify positivity in ordinary days. Chapter 16. Nature, Movement, and the Restorative Senses. Exposure to nature and deliberate movement are among the most reliable, low-cost paths to calm and positivity. Eco-psychology research shows time in green spaces reduces cortisol, improves attention, and elevates mood. Design daily micronature doses, a 10-minute walk under trees, an open-window lunch facing natural light, or tending plants indoors. Combine movement with sensory focus. Notice the texture of bark, the way light shifts, the smell of rain to deepen restoration. Movement beyond exercise matters too. Intentional mobility practices, yoga, tai chi, or dance, integrate breath, balance, and proprioceptive awareness, producing both physiological and emotional regulation. High-intensity exercise has its place for mood elevation and confidence, but regular moderate movement prevents fragile affective states. Add sensory hygiene, reduce harsh artificial light, include warm tactile objects in your environment, and curate soundscapes, quiet natural sounds or low ambient music, to lower sympathetic arousal. When weather or schedules limit outdoor time, simulate nature, natural imagery, plant near your workspace, or use natural scented elements. Movement plus nature is a multiplier. Combined, they produce deeper calm and a grounded positivity that cognitive interventions alone cannot sustain. Chapter 17. Creativity and Play as Emotional Reset. Play and creativity are not indulgences. They are essential emotional regulators. When routine consumes life, play reintroduces novelty, perspective, and joy, antidotes to chronic stress. Build microplay rituals into your schedule. 20 minutes of a low-stakes creative activity, sketching, improvisation or writing, or playful construction twice weekly. Low stakes matters. Remove evaluation and outcome focus. The goal is novelty and process. Creativity engages different neural networks than problem solving, allowing incubation and insight. Another practice is free exploration sessions. Set a timer for 30 minutes and follow curiosity with no agenda. This resets mental patterns and often yields surprising solutions to persistent problems. Group play has social benefits. Playful interactions with friends or family increase bonding and lighten conflict. If you work in a high-pressure environment, Introduce microplay into the day, a 2-minute laughter break, a playful prompt at meetings, or a light team challenge. The combination of creativity, curiosity, and play restores perspective and replenishes positivity. It reminds you that life includes delight, not just duty. Chapter 18. Media Diet and Cognitive Boundaries. The modern media environment is engineered to hijack attention and amplify threat perception. Managing your media diet is therefore essential for sustained calm. Start with a media audit. Track the hours and emotional tone of your consumption for 1 week. Identify triggers, sensational news, doom scrolling patterns, or frictional social feeds that spike anxiety. Next, design rules. Limit news checks to 2 scheduled times daily, unsubscribe from low-value channels, and create short lists of trusted, low-noise sources for essential updates. Use friction tactics. Log out of news apps, disable autoplay, and set timers to enforce breaks. Replace passive scrolling with active information gatherings tied to specific questions. If you need intel for a project, query targeted sources rather than surfing broadly. Social media boundaries are vital. Curate your feeds to include more educational, uplifting, and connective content. Mute or unfollow accounts that produce negative comparison. For social interactions, apply pre-meeting filters. Avoid engaging with contentious content immediately before important conversations. Finally, practice intentional media fasts 24 to 72 hours monthly to recalibrate attention and restore perspective. A disciplined media diet reduces reactive fear, preserves curiosity, and creates cognitive space for calm reflection and positive action. Chapter 19. Financial Calm. Systems over stress. Money worries are a major source of chronic anxiety. Financial calm is not about wealth. It's about predictable systems that reduce uncertainty. Begin with clear bookkeeping habits, simple monthly tracking of income, essential expenses, and discretionary spending. Visibility reduces mystery and panic. Second, automate basics, bill payments, savings transfers, and emergency fund contributions, so key financial tasks are removed from daily decision pressure. Third, adopt a financial runway metric. How many months could you sustain essential living if income dropped? Building a modest runway, 3 to 6 months, dramatically reduces existential dread and increases freedom to make values-aligned choices. Fourth, practice bounded experimentation for investments and income diversification, small, testable ventures rather than gambling. Fifth, set explicit money scripts for conversations with partners. Agree on priorities, savings goals, and shared boundaries to prevent conflict. Sixth, cultivate financial curiosity instead of avoidance. Learn one practical concept monthly, budgeting rule, tax tip, or simple investing principle, and apply it. Finally, build psychological buffers. A small, fun fund prevents overspending from stress, and a gratitude practice for non-financial riches reduces comparison impulses. Financial calm is structural. Systems, visibility, and small reserves convert money from a source of chronic anxiety to a manageable domain. Chapter 20. Designing a Life That Sustains. Calm and Positivity. All interventions discussed in the book converge in life design. Design your days, roles, and rhythms so they support baseline calm rather than constantly undermine it. Begin with values clarity, identify 3 core life values, and evaluate how your current commitments align. Prune misaligned obligations ruthlessly. Second, schedule energy architecture. Align high-value tasks with peak energy, reserve recovery as non-negotiable, and batch low-impact work. Third, design social environments that mirror your goals. Spend more time with people who model composure and curiosity. Fourth, create seasonal plans, periods of deep work, recovery, and exploration balanced across the year so intensity is sustainable. Fifth, institutionalize rituals that anchor identity. Morning centering, weekly synthesis, monthly retreat that define who you are in practice, not only aspiration. Sixth, commit to continuous adaptation, hold quarterly reviews, ask honest questions about what drains versus fuels you, and test changes with micro-experiments. Seventh, cultivate legacy thinking. What daily habits will you want your future self to thank you for? Designing life in this manner turns calm and positivity from intermittent moods into enduring ways of being. It creates a personal ecosystem where stress is informative rather than dominating, and where joy is not accidental but engineered. Conclusion, a practical invitation to steady presence. Calmness and positivity are not elusive states reserved for the fortunate. They are engineered outcomes of intentional habits, physical care, clear communication, social investment, and wise life design. Start small. Pick one breathing practice, one boundary, and one gratitude ritual. Practice them daily, measure their effect, iterate, and protect the gains. Over months, these small investments compound into a resilient baseline that carries you through challenge and lets joy appear more often. The path is practical, not mystical. Design your environment, train your responses, invest in relationships, and steward your energy. Do this consistently, and you will not only survive life's storms, but navigate them with calm, curiosity, and an enduring, positive heart.